Welcome to this episode of Racing Dean, brought to you from Fulbeck, which is a bizarre track. It's both fast and slow, with two bus stops, one on the start-finish straight, one on the back straight. And coming onto the back straight, there's another important corner called the boot, which determines your speed onto that main start-finish straight. But before race day, if you've been following my videos, you'll know that after round one, I had some serious tendinitis like tennis elbow. And then after round two, I also had some rib pain. So in the time between these rounds, I have had to invest a lot of time in physiotherapy, getting my body back up to scratch. So doing a combination of isometric moves, which helps strengthen that connective tissue, and then also other specialist moves to strengthen my wrists, my forearms, and to help prevent against that tennis elbow. So if these exercises don't look like I'm doing much, the aim of the game in a lot of these cases is just to put some stress through the connective tissue to make sure it heals in the right way. And it was only actually the week before race day that I was able to do something that resembled a proper gym workout, where certainly for my side body, I could actually move it through any range of motion, because prior to the week out, I really couldn't move it much at all. So the question going into this weekend would be, would my body break? And the answer would not be my body would break. The answer would be I would break my go-kart.
What's transpired is that I've bent two track rods in two separate meetings, and I've had to change my steering column. And so all in all, I've had probably the most work I've ever had to do on a go-kart in one day, on the day before even the official practice. So what a start to the weekend.
And here I absolutely clobbered the front on that tyre wall, something that I'd be doing several times over the course of the weekend. Here's the slow-mo replay. Bang! I really clobbered it that time, so much so I actually bent the side pod where the kart led over to the left. And all of this clumsy driving would have been a trip to the jig. Now luckily, a bunch of the people in the GX UK grid had chipped in to buy a jigging table, and I guess I was one of the first people to use it. So we're looking at some of the things we're measuring here.
Similar. So it should be at the same resting point, essentially.
Okay.
So see this side? That bit simple. So see that?
That looks a bit different.
So essentially.
And with a little bit of leverage, we were able to straighten that out, as well as to bring the front of the kart down, because the front was also bent up a little bit as well.
Banging. Look at that.
Thanks to Kyle Broad for bringing the table and for helping me straighten out my chassis.
Firstly, thank you for coming, and thank you for the track for having us. I'll go through the normal bit and then pass over to Clark.
Rolling laps, miss out both chicanes. Your first racing lap, your start, misses out the first chicane.
So here we are, heat one, and I find myself slotting in behind number 33, Sebastian Musica. Bit of a spinner there on the right hand side, but we managed to steer clear of any trouble whatsoever, and we're well and truly into this race. Russell Endin would have an amazing weekend. Can I follow him through on the inside and keep the place ahead of Sebastian Musica? Nope, Seb has got it on the inside, so I can't get that position back. This would prove to be not always a great corner for me, the boot, and also coming into the first bus stop was often tricky. Crash to the side there, so I've actually made up quite a few places on this first lap just because of accidents. Now you'll also see that concrete dust on the left hand side. There was an oil leak. One of the carts spewed a bunch of oil on the track, so that was dusty, and people were a bit hesitant to go on it, certainly for the first few laps. of the two bus stops, this would be my better bus stop, despite clobbering the inside barricades quite often. I tended to go into there maybe a bit slower but get good drive. That was certainly the better bus stop for me. Another crash, so number 22, Ben White, he's gone crashing there, and someone else that didn't catch their number. So there's lots happened in this race so far, and I've really come out on top in terms of not having had any damage whatsoever or any crashes. And a bit of a mistake there from Seb Musica, that's going to slow him down coming into the bus stop too. I get an okay drive through there. He's gone wide, he's hit the curb as well, so I'm right on the back of Seb. What's going to happen as we come into the bottom complex of the track? And he's squirrely again. He is not driving that smoothly, and it's allowed me to get right on the back of him. And up the inside, and I've made that fair and square just before that yellow flag. So we've slowed down a touch now because there is a yellow flag. So I've just skipped forward to the end of the race, and now number 18, Paul Zanatachi, has got by me. And at this stage, because it's the last lap and because I've had a great heat moving up all the way from the back of the grid to somewhere in the middle, I am willing to let this one go and just hold position and get a good haul of points for the first race of the day. Though we do have someone who's trying to get past, so at the same time as not wanting to hassle Paul too much, I'm also cognizant that I don't want to leave that position to the person behind. But this is the last lap and we're coming into the home straight, and this would be a great race one for me. Coming in 13th place that time, up 7 places from 20th where I started.
Good race? Yeah. I ended up 7th. I probably should have been. I was in 2nd for a while. I was just stuck going, Ronnie, good lad.
So at the end of Heat 1 there, we had a bit of a debrief with Paul Handley. As we come into Heat 2, there seems to be some kind of a fuel issue. So Anwar Beryl-Smith comes to the rescue with more fuel, and we are off to the races. And this wouldn't be the first time we were held on the grid for a while. And indeed, there was some kind of drama in the pit lane. Matt Roberts there gets a great start. He's made up a few positions, and I'm trying to slip in behind number 27, which is Harley Smith. But I've got competition on the inside. That's Oscar Prietti, who's just slipped through. He had a great weekend. And then we've also got Matt Glazebrook as well. He had a really fast weekend in general as well. So he's behind me, and I'm going to do the best I can to keep him behind me. But that's probably not going to last that long because he was a lot faster than I was. There he is. He's there on the outside. Bit of a concertina effect there into the boot, and I've lost a bit of momentum because I did tap the back of number 27, and we're coming into the first dog leg, and it's looking pretty tight. And there's Matt, he's outbraked me. That would be one of my weakest parts on the track coming into that bus stop, so he's got through, and it will be anything that I can do to stay on the back of him. I always went so wide into that corner. Looking back at the footage, I'm like, why did I go so wide every time into the hairpin? It did do well for my speed into the second bus stop, but I was very vulnerable to being overtaken at that part on the track. Gone for a move on the inside there, but no, number 22 has managed to hang it out around the outside. Good on you, Ben, well held. Shame, thought I might get that one done, but it turns out it wasn't meant to be. And up the inside then the outside comes Brad Philpott, and he gets through, and actually there's just another yellow flag here, so he's got the move done before the yellow. I will try my best to follow Brad, but I would just see him gradually, casually carve through the field, one card at a time, looking pretty composed. Unfortunately, he would suffer a mechanical problem in that race and wouldn't finish it. So all that great work at pulling through the field, and he wouldn't finish the race because he threw a chain. So in the closing stages of this race, we've closed up again. We've got Tom Butler, who's trying to get past. I'm trying to be defensive from Tom, but I'm also eager to try and get past Ben because him and I are pretty evenly paced. So it would have been great if I'd been able to make the move on him and make it stick, but we're all very, very tight coming into the final lap. And you see how no one's going over to the outside of the track. We're all hugging the inside so that no one can get past us coming into that first bus stop. I'm in the middle. I can see Tom Butler on the outside. Still, I go quite wide, but hook up nicely on that curb. Pretty sure that's going to give me a good run into the second bus stop. A bit defensive to stop anyone coming down the inside on me there, but that feels like it's job done. I've held my line, I've got a good drive through there. So is there any opportunity to get Ben coming into the last corner? He's gone defensive, everyone's gone defensive, and the whole group of people in front of me has just condensed. So it looks like it's going to be single file to the line with everyone just white lining it, as it's called, to stop anyone else trying to get past. And look at that as we go over the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 karts all in one big cluster. And that race would see me lose some places actually. So I started about 13th or 14th, and I would end up in 16th position.
That was good.
That was a move, well done.
Yeah.
That was a great move you did on me.
Oh man. Come on, learn how to do some overtakes.
But there's only like 2 places.
Minimal banditry, please. I just had no grip in that last session, so I've changed everything about the car to see if I can get some grip.
And as I mentioned, more drama at the front row of the grid. This time it's Oscar, and he's got a bit of an issue with his pull start, but luckily everyone grouped around together and were able to sort him out, although he did have to start at the back.
You did pretty good, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty good.
How have you gone in your first 2 heats?
13th and 16th.
That's it.
I'm not unhappy with that.
You're starting to go up a bit, aren't you?
Yeah. Top 10. Contact, top 10.
Kind words from Phil there. So we are starting my third and final heat, and I'm in the second row and I'm behind Matt Roberts, and we are off to a really solid start. This is probably the best slipstream I've had in my life, so I managed to get in there behind him and push him thoroughly into first place, and I find myself in second place, which is the highest I've ever been in a kart race this year. It's a bit short-lived though, as 150 Kyle Broad does get past me, but what you're about to see are probably my best ever laps of GX UK. For the first 3 laps of this race, I am pretty hooked up, dialed in, switched on. It's basically pretty good for me, so I'm going to leave it playing. One thing, if you're enjoying this video and you need to buy some karting stuff from Demon Tweaks, there's a couple of links down there in the description of the video. If you buy something from those, such as the trolley, really good to have a trolley with big chunky wheels at Fulbeck. If you need one of those, if you buy it with my link, it helps the channel. And that is the end of these promotional messages. And in a kind of weird way, as I'm watching this back, I kind of wonder if defending, in a way, did me some favours, because it looks like I was going overly wide into certain corners, and certainly by defending slightly from whoever's in 4th place right now, I was actually taking slightly narrower lines in, and it might have been to my advantage. But no, at the moment, I have lost 2 places. So number 9, Ethan Hall, and then Matt Glazebrook have gone past, so I now find myself in 5th. And this is where my confidence starts to take a bit of a knock. Meanwhile, a few places behind me, we join Alex Van Gien.
How is off there? Whoa! God, just run it! Stand right off the circuit!
I can see he's there now, so I'm going a bit defensive, so I'm trying to protect myself from being overtaken. There's only a few laps to go, so I am really trying to hold on to the position that I've got. Wobbly through that corner, bit messy, too messy for my liking. Into the final lap. Alex has a good run on me, but he can't get it done into the bus stop 1. Can he get it done into the hairpin? I'm going defensive, just slightly in the middle of the track. A little tap there from Alex, but nothing to worry about. And I've got a clean run in front of me into the 2nd bus stop. Not too bad through the bus stop that time, pretty neat and tidy, so it's all about this bottom complex into the boot. I'm defensive, so he's not going to get past there on the inside. And it just looks to me like he's lost a bit of momentum, so long as I can keep it on the black stuff in these last few corners, I'm going to finish this race ahead of Alex Van Gien, much to his dismay, but from my point of view, a really good result.
Nah, frustrating. He defended well, there's nothing I can do about it though.
And that result would be my best ever heat finish, number 8, 8th in my 3rd heat, which is probably going to put me in a good position for the final.
But mate, I just couldn't ever draw alongside you. You carry so much more speed to change though. You're
into the chicane.
like half a second later than you should be.
Well, good news, the B final grids have just been released and I'm not in it, which means I've made it through to the A final on merit. So the last race was pretty good. I started off well, lost my rhythm a bit in the middle, but managed to hang on to 9th place from a chasing Van Gene. So all in all, a good day so far, and we'll see you in the A final.
Okay, A final starting 20th. With a bent steering column with skew of side pod.
So just to round off a weekend with lots of damage, I take stock of current damage on my car, and there are a few bits. The steering's definitely a bit wobbly, but this is my best ever start in the A final, starting P20. Let's go! So we're through the first few corners pretty cleanly, and I'm behind number 45, who is Ash Candola. And it is a little bit greasy on the track. It rained earlier in the B final for the GX UK, so things are looking a tiny bit more slippery than they would do in the earlier part of the day. So I've skipped it forward a few laps, and you can see there's a crash. We can see that Brad Philpott has got past me and taken evasive action through the bus stop, and now we're going to resume normal footage. I've been hitting a few things with my go-kart. I've hit 2 bus stops, one on the left, one on the right. You can see there I'm checking my steering. I'm not really that confident it's going in a straight line anymore, and there's certainly a bit of free play in my steering wheel. And that's the first spot of rain on the visor. More spots of rain on the visor there, and we've got Adam Holloway in front, and I've just managed to close onto the back of this group, which is really putting me back in the race. We've got our friend number 18, Paul Zanatachi. We've been pretty evenly matched all through the practicing and the final, and we're really in quite a good tussle here, fighting for these kind of 20-something positions, but everything to play for with about half of the final still to go. More rain on the visor. Things are starting to get a tiny bit slippery. Is anyone going to fall off the track? Are there going to be any mistakes? Brad Philpott is tantalisingly close. He's still within a few karts lengths, but in that time he has managed to make up 4 or 5 places, just casually carving through the field. It all seems so close and so achievable when you're there behind him, but then blink and he's 5 karts away in front. I was doing my best there to get past 57. Adam didn't quite make it that time, but things are bunching up. And I think the reason why we are bunching up is to do with that red suit up in front. I can't quite make out who it is, but people have bunched up behind me as well. So I've got number 23, who's a novice, who's Joe Harris, and he's being pushed along by Simon Fuller, Wombats. And there's a crash, there's contact. I didn't hit them, they did something on the outside, so they took themselves out. Don't know what happened there. And there's more rain. There's spinners. I've gone wide, just about managed to keep it on the track, but it's definitely wet now. So at this point we are on slippery surface. More crashes, so made a few more places there thanks to the misfortune of others. Quick wipe of the visor, things are getting tense, things are definitely slippery now. So that's Paul and Harley having a bit of a tussle, and I've managed to get myself right in the middle of it, so I'm now in the mix with these 2 drivers. Whoop, totally lost momentum, and I've tried to do the wet line there and go deep into the corner, but it hasn't helped me out one bit. And once again, I go in too deep. I've carried too much speed in. I closed up the gap under braking, but then I haven't stopped it enough to turn. But here I am going to go wide. I like going wide in this corner anyway, and it's really helped me. So I've literally glued myself onto the back of Harley, and I'm going to push him for all I'm worth to see if he can overtake Paul. And he has done. But I definitely helped him a little bit, maybe a bit too much. He carried a bit too much speed into that corner. We spoke afterwards and he wasn't sure if he'd done a bad thing to Paul, and maybe he was a tiny bit frustrated with me, but we kind of shook hands and no harm done. I've noticed that on the outside of this corner it was dry because it was in the sun, so I've made up the position, and Paul now are in hot pursuit of Harley. Alas, that was the end of the A final. So just as things were getting really interesting with the weather, it's getting wet, then it was getting dry, that would be the end of the A final. So I actually made up 2 places from where I started, and this would be my best result of the season in GX UK. A thoroughly good weekend. It was hard work from start to finish, lots of mechanical repairs, but a great result in the end.
Sorry if that was a bit messy. I honestly can't remember, but I don't think it was.
That's that massive sun you go. He bumped me. That's what happened. I was on the brake.
Oh, into the bus stop.
Yeah, the bus stop.
Yeah, sorry, I was on your. Yeah.
It kind of caught me off. So.
Well, that's the end of the A final. It was a bit messy, but a lot of fun. It rained in the middle of it, so all in all, quite a fun weekend. Gonna leave this weekend with a good taste in my mouth, so see you at the next one.